जय राधा माधव जय कुञ्ज विहारी जय राधा माधव जय कुञ्ज विहारी जय गोपी जन वल्लभ जय गिरिवरधारी जय गिरिवरधारी जय गोपीजन
जय
जय
गिरिवरधारी
गिरिवरधारी जय गिरिवरधारी जय यशोदनन्दन जय व्रजजनरञ्जन
जय
यशोदनन्दन जय
जय
व्रजजनरञ्जन यमुनतीरावनचारि यमुनतीरावनचारि जय राधमाधव जय कुञ्ज विहारी जय राधमाधव
जय कुञ्ज बिहारी
हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे हरे
हरे
कृष्णा
कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे
हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा
हरे कृष्ण
कृष्ण कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे
हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे
हरे कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम राम हरे 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 कृष्ण कृष्ण कृष्ण
कृष्ण
कृष्ण
कृष्ण
हरे
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 हरे राम
राम हरे हरे
हरे कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम राम हरे हरे
हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम हरे हरे
हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम हरे हरे
हरे कृष्ण Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna. Jai Gauranitai, 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 Jai Gauranitai.
Jaya Gauranitai, Gauranitai,
Gauranitai,
Jaya Gauranitai.
Jai Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada.
Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada.
Jaya Jaya Gurudev, 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev.
Jaya Jaya Gurudev, 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev.
श्री गौरनिताय की
Jai,
श्रील प्रभुपाद की
Jai,
नंदन श्रीमद् भागवतम की
Jai.
ताई गौर प्रेमानंदे
Hari Bol.
हरे कृष्ण. Excuse me, I just closed the window because it's a bit shiny from outside. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So, Mataji, you can share your screen.
Mhm.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om
Om
Namo
Namo Bhagavate
Vasudevaya.
Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Hare Krishna. We are reading from Canto 4, The Creation of the Fourth Order, Chapter 5, and texts 11 and 12. Okay, we'll first recite word by word. Amar Shaitva
Amashvaita
Tam
Tam
Asaiha
Saiha
Tejasam
Tejasam
Manyuplutam
Manyuplutam
Durnirikshyam
Puriniksham
Brukutya
Brukutya
Karala
Karala
Damstrabir
Damstrabir
Udasta
Udasta
Bhaganam
Bhaganam
Shat
Shyat
Swasti
Svasti
Kim
Kim
Kopayato
Upayato
Vidatuha.
Vidarutu
Okay. Amasayitva Tamasya Tejasam
Amashayitva Amasaya
Tamasayate
Tejasam
Manyu Plutam Durniriksham Brukutya
Manyutam Duriksham Brukutya
Karaladamstravirudasta Bhaganam
Karaladandrabhaganam
Satsvasti Kim Kopayato Vidatuha.
स्यात्
स्वस्तिं
स्वस्तिं
कोपयतो
कोपयतो
विदधातु
विदधातु
अमर्सायित्वा तमसैह तेजसम्
अमर्षयित्वा तमसः तेजसम्
मन्युप्लुतं दुर्निरीक्ष्यं भृकुत्य
मनुष्यं
मन्योप्लुतं दुर्निरीक्ष्यं भूतभव्य
करालदंस्त्राभिरुदस्तभागनम्
करालदंष्ट्राभिरुदभागनं
करालदंष्ट्राभिरुदभागनम्
शत्स्वस्ति किं कोपयतो विधातुः
स्यात् स्वस्ति
स्वस्ति
किं
किं
कोपयतो
कोपयतो
विधातु
विधातु
Yeah, can you somebody recite, please?
अमर्षयित्वा तमसह्य तेजसम्
अमर्षयित्वा
तमशया
तेजसम्
तेजसां
मन्युप्लुतं दुर्निरीक्ष्यं भ्रुकुट्या
मन्योप्लुतं दुर्निरीक्ष्यं भ्रुकुटया
करालदंष्ट्राभिरुदष्टभागणम्
करालदंष्ट्राभिरुदभागनम्
स्यात् स्वस्ति किं कोपयतो विधातुः
स्यात् स्वस्ति किं कोपयतो विधातुः
Amarya. Oh, go. You go.
Oh, you go ahead, Mataji, please.
Oh no, I'm coughing too much. You go, please.
Okay, sure. Amarshayitva tamasaya tejasam
अमर्षयित्वा
Tamashaya tejasam
तेजसाम्
manyu plutam durnireksham bhrukutya
Manuyutam Turniksham Brokutya
करालदं श्राभिरुदस्तभागनम्
Karaladam Strabirudashtabaganam
स्यात् स्वस्ति किं कोपयतो विधातुः
Yat Swasti Kim Gopyato Viratu.
Anyone else? Okay, so we read synonyms. Amarshitva,
Amashritva.
अमर्षयित्वा
after causing to become angry.
After causing
after causing
to
to
become
become
angry,
angry
Tam,
tam
Tam
him, Lord Shiva.
him,
him Lord Shiva
Lord Shiva,
Asaiha Tejasam,
Asaya
Asayatejasam,
tejasam
with an unbearable effulgence.
with an
unbearable
unbearable
effulgence
effulgence.
Manyaplutam,
Manuplutam,
filled with anger.
filled with anger.
Durnirekshyam,
Durniriksham,
not able to be looked at.
not
not
able to be
able
looked at
to be looked at.
Brukutya,
Brukutya,
by the movement of his brows.
by
by
the
the
movement of
movement
his
of
brows.
his brows.
Karala damstrabihi,
Karaladam stravi,
by his fearful teeth.
by his fearful teeth.
Udasta bhaganam,
Udashtabhaganam,
having scattered the luminaries.
having scattered the luminaries.
Shat,
Sat,
Yeah,
there should be.
there
there
should
would
be
be
Swasti,
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 good fortune.
good
good
fortune.
Kim,
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 how.
how,
Kopayataha,
Kopayataha,
causing Lord Shiva to be angry.
causing Lord
causing
Shiva to be
Shiva
angry.
to be angry.
Vidatuhu
Vidatu
of Brahma.
of
Of
Brahma.
Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki.
Jai.
The gigantic black man bared his fearful teeth. By the movements of his brows, he scattered the luminaries all over the sky, and he covered them with his strong, piercing effulgence. Because of the misbehavior of Daksha, even Lord Brahma, Daksha's father, could not have been saved from the great exhibition of anger. So, no purport. We go to the next text, please. I'll just do this myself. Bhavevam utvigna droshayamane janena dakshasya muhur mahatmanah utpetur utpatatamah sahasraso bhayavahatvi vipumau chaparyak. Translation. While all the people talked among themselves, Daksha saw dangerous omens from all sides, from the earth and from the sky. Purport. In this verse, Daksha has been described as Mahatma. The word Mahatma has been commented upon by different commentators in various manners. Viraraghava Acharya has indicated that this word Mahatma means steady in heart. That is to say that Daksha was so strong-hearted that even when his beloved daughter was prepared to lay down her life, he was steady and unshaken. But in spite of his being so strong-hearted, he was perturbed when he saw the various disturbances created by the gigantic black demon. Vishwanatha Chakravarti Thakur remarks in this connection that even if one is called Mahatma, he should be considered a Duratma or a degraded soul. In Bhagavad Gita, text 9.13, the word Mahatma describes the pure devotee of the Lord. Mahatmanastu mam partha daivim prakritim ashritaha. A Mahatma is always under the guidance of the internal energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And thus, how could such a misbehaved person as Daksha be a Mahatma? A Mahatma is supposed to have all the good qualities of the demigods, and thus Daksha, lacking those qualities, could not be called a Mahatma. He should instead be called Duratma, a degraded soul. The word Mahatma to describe the qualifications of Daksha is used sarcastically. ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरन्दस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः चैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपकदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरुं वैष्णवां च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणरघुनाथां तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपदान् सहगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितं च नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रस्थाय भूतले श्रीमदे भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामी नित्यानंद नमस्ते सारस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य सतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. So I just open the text again, 1 second. So these two texts here, 4.5.11 and 12, this is talking about how the fierce, the personality that came from Lord Shiva. And also it talks about how Daksha's his behavior led into some negative reactions. This we know. And the next text talks about the important, significant word Mahatma. Srila Prabhupada wanted to make sure Daksha is definitely not Mahatma, although the text, the Sanskrit sloka talks about Daksha being a Mahatma, Srila Prabhupada wanted to give us the clear interpretation on the particular text. Reason being, why Acharyas make sure when they give us commentaries, the understanding is passed well across, the message is passed across in a right order, in a right way. Otherwise, our Kali Yuga ignorant mind will always misinterpret most of the time, correct? Unless, of course, we have Acharya to guide us through Vani or Vapu, the interpretation that we will try to, or we endeavor, would be not 100% accurate. Hence, we always follow acharyas. And the other thing is, acharyas also, there are so many commentators and give different, purpose or a translation or interpretation for the same text. The Mayavadis take the word Atma and tell the Atma is the supreme God, for example. But which is true in some cases, depending on the context. When we talk about Atma being sometimes a soul, sometimes being super soul, sometimes being the nature. So it depends on the context again. Unless, of course, we follow our acharyas from the sampradaya, correct bona fide sampradaya, again there will be a misinterpretation. So that's why we ignore the commentations from the Mayavadis, impersonalists. Now, Prabhupada also tells the Veerarahava-acharya's purport and also the other one from Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, how they interpreted the word Mahatma. But he concluded that this is sarcastical talk of telling that Mahatma, he is Duratma, but telling that Mahatma, how, oh, he's great Mahatma, look at him, how he behaves. But this is sarcastic. That's the conclusion from Prabhupada. So we stick with that. Therefore, we ignore the correct meaning of Mahatma. That is for Daksha, but we understand that he is Duratma. Okay, and we also see how that he takes birth as Daksha again for Prachetas. For 10 Prachetas, he takes birth as Daksha himself. But at the end of his life, he chooses to go and perform austerity, and then he leaves the family. So we see that also. Excuse me. And yesterday also after the class, I mentioned, I don't know if some of you heard that. So depends on the receiver or the recipient, the counsel needs to be given. So the counsel also need to be determined or discriminated in the material modes of goodness, passion, and ignorance. Because when we give counsel to the person who is in mode of ignorance or passion, the recipient who is in mode of ignorance or passion, it will not be well received. That is just wasting our time and energy giving advice to them. So we also see that Duryodhana, when he was given advice, he did not heed. Okay, and when Bhishma Dev said, just give them Indraprasth. So he was so envious, Duryodhana was so envious that initially they were given Indraprasth. It was just a desert, right? And there was nothing. It was a barren land. Nothing would grow or get fertile. It's just a wasteland, pretty much. But Indraprastha also belongs to Hastinapur. And Yudhishthira Maharaj being very humble and soft-hearted, and he would, he is very virtuous, correct? And therefore, if elders give any instructions, he would just abide. He wouldn't question. He wouldn't deny or dispute. He would just say, "Yes, I will do that. Yes, okay." So this would be his answers. So when Dhritarashtra gave Indraprastha the wasteland, when they returned from the exile, so they went, this is before the exile, they went and then when they looked at it, they were disappointed how cruel the hearts of Dhritarashtra and his sons were, because they just gave this piece of land that will be of no use only. However, Krishna, because Krishna was always by their side, Krishna reminded Arjuna to call Maya, that Maya Sura, because he owes a boon or a service to Arjuna, because Arjuna helped him in the past. So because he, saved him from the forest fire. So therefore, Arjuna called Maya Sura and therefore asked, "Look, I want to have this fixed." And then immediately, by his illusory power and his special powers, what Maya Sura did was he's an architect as well. So he created a big palace and greeneries and scenic views, everything in Indraprastha. It used to call Kandava Prastha because of this bringing a heavenly look on the earth. It became known as Indraprastha. And then everyone was very happy. And then Yudhishthira Maharaj was instructed by Krishna that now that you have occupied this land, now you need to perform the greatest sacrifice on earth, which is a Rajasuya Yajna. That way, we can make sure we are here and we can invite the citizens to our kingdom. And therefore, you can establish the proper kingdom, and you can send the houses also, the house to have it returned without any disputes from any other kingdom. And of course, even Duryodhana did not dispute on that part, and everyone agreed, and therefore there was no dispute. Therefore, they went ahead and completed the Rajasuya Yajna successfully. And we also know Sisupala's behavior, the misbehavior also there, how he kept abusing Krishna, and Krishna finally sent his Sudarshan Chakra and punished Sisupala from his wrongdoing. We know that. And coming back to Duryodhana, when he was given advice by Bhishma, then what happened was Indraprastha, they were ruling, and Duryodhana was insulted by Draupadi, the lake illusion episode. And then when they came back, Duryodhana and Sakuni planned that something need to be done regarding this Pandavas. And then what they did was invited them for a gambling match, knowing well Yudhishthira Maharaj fond of gambling match, and also he would not deny the instructions or the challenge come from another Kshatriya. Therefore, he has to abide, and therefore the match will take place. And we know what all happened, and then they lost Indraprastha also. But then after that, because of so much that happened during that past time, that situation where Duryodhana insulted, Pandavas by, taking away their possessions, including the brothers, and even Draupadi was insulted. We knew that. And because, see, in one sense, the great personality sitting there did not tell because he was in mode of ignorance. He is not gonna listen, and that will become their dishonor also if they give instruction and the recipient, is not going to listen, but instead he's going to insult. Then it will look bad upon them also. Therefore, they stopped. And then the other thing also, when we see that whatever they did was like in a Artha Shastra, it was okay. It was okay because they invited Yudhishthira, he came, and then they asked, they gave they gave their possession in the gambling match, and Yudhishthira Maharaja kept matching that from whatever the possessions he had with Duryodhana's. And when all the assets ran out, then they mocked him. Duryodhana, Dushashna, Sakuni, they mocked Yudhishthira that now you don't have anything. Then Yudhishthira Maharaj should have stopped there. Yes, I don't have anything. Now I give up. I leave with my family to the forest. He should have just left. But what he did, no, I will gamble my brother, Sahadeva, and then Nakula, and then Bhima, then Arjuna. And then even then also, they didn't ask anything, right? And Yudhishthira Maharaj should have stopped there until Karna invoked the idea of, okay, now, you can gamble wife, she's still there. And then Yudhishthira Maharaj should have said, no, I already gambled myself and I am not eligible or qualified to gamble my wife. So he could have said that. But again, because of this false hope, what if I won now, then I can retrieve all my possessions back, including my brothers. Because of that false hope, he just gave in to the thoughts that, yes, we'll do the gambling again. So brothers of Pandavas, I mean, Yudhishthira Maharaj, they are also virtuous, they follow the instructions of Yudhishthira Maharaj, he being elder, they did not protest either for the same reason. So because everything was going intact, what is the reason that Bhishma or Dronacharya or Kripacharya could have said? Dhritarashtra, we very well knew that he wouldn't say anything because he was so much blinded by the love for his son, Duryodhana especially. He doesn't want to tell anything. He just kept quiet, as if he doesn't want to say that it's bad, doesn't want to say that it's good either. So he kept quiet. So we need to know where to discriminate our intelligence activities. When we are tempted to do something, we knew already what is right, what is wrong, and if we do not know for sure because they both look right sometimes, or sometimes they both look wrong, that is when we need a guru. So we need to go and ask our shiksha guru or diksha guru or our cheta guru, the Paramatma. We should ask for guidance. That moment of pause is required in every action, right? Because before we act, we need to think twice. But Yudhishthira Maharaj, being so intelligent, why did he give in? We can say that's the fate, that's how it has to go, yes, but at the same time, he was also attracted to that momentarily desire of winning the gambling match. And gambling match is not wrong in for Kshatriyas in those Vedic days, therefore it is all right. But at the same time, the discrimination has to occur, otherwise he should have sought guidance from the great personalities in the assembly. Vidura, being very intelligent and devotee, what he did was he was not interested in gambling match. He never participated. Even for the purpose of watching the match, he never did that. Therefore, he decided before he went, he gave advice, and then he went to the pilgrimage. So we see that what happened was when Dhritarashtra, after all this happened, Dhritarashtra realizing, yes, this is really bad, but still, he said, why Dhritarashtra became upset? Because Draupadi started to curse, because we knew how chaste she is, and the curse of a chaste woman will come true. That's when Dhritarashtra became afraid that he might lose his sons. Then he begged for pardon and he said, I don't know what happened here. I'm just tongue tied or hand tied. He was mind tied actually. He didn't know what to do, what to say. He just put it in words in a diplomatic, diplomatic kingly way. He gave the words to Draupadi. Only Bhima and Draupadi spoke up. When Draupadi cursed, then Bhima took the vows that we knew how he was going to kill all the Kauravas, 100 sons of Dhritarashtra, and how he is going to kill Duryodhana. He was taking vows in a row, and Draupadi also cursing. That's when Dhritarashtra said, okay, that's fine. We just forget about what happened. You go back to Indraprastha. And Duryodhana doesn't even want to give Indraprastha. And he said, no, I won't give. They need to go to exile. And then after, they come back from exile, they send a peace messenger. Before sending Krishna as peace messenger, before that also someone else went and asked for the peace, and they said, we don't want it to kill each other. We just go in peace, and therefore we stop this, and we don't want any war because it's gonna kill millions of people. And Duryodhana, before even any great personalities talk or spoke, he just started telling that no, I won't give anything to Pandavas. You can go and tell them, and I will meet them in the battle. And when Bhishma that time gave some advice to him, just at least give them Indraprastha. They just do their own thing, and you do your own thing. You are all cousins. Please listen, Duryodhana. And he said, "Oh, Bhishma, you are an old man, and you're afraid of war. Don't worry, I have Ashwatthama, Karna, Dushasan, and my other brothers. So I'm not afraid of the war. I will win. I will defeat the Pandavas. So if you are fearful of the war because being old, stay away." So this was a great insult. He was Maharatha. There are three kinds of warrior: Ratha, Atirata, Maharatha. Ratha means they can kill 5,000 opponents at the same time. And the next level, Atirata, is 60,000. And Maharatha is 720,000 at the same time. So that's him, Bhishma. And this is a great insult. Despite of his age, he could do that. But Duryodhana insulted him. And then Bhishma stopped. This is the fact, right? And he's not going to listen anybody, and therefore it's waste of time. And what happened after some time, Dhritarashtra became fearful that this is all going to take place and they were going to lose, because Gandhari knew by her chastity and austerity, she accumulated so many powers, and also seeing the future. So she knew this is going to happen, that the virtue only will win. And Dhritarashtra became fearful. What he did, he sent a messenger. And before that, when Duryodhana, when Krishna came back as a messenger, as a Santitut, that time also he insulted Krishna. I won't even give any land that will drive a pin. So that was his final words, and he said that I say it now, but I will say it. I will never say it again. This is my final decision. I'm not going to give anything to the Pandavas. And that time Krishna said, "Okay, then war is inevitable," and he left and he gave the message to Yudhishthira, and then that's when Pandavas were okay to do the fight, like to go ahead with the war. Until such time, they really don't want it. And Dhritarashtra sent the message to the Pandavas. He sent Sanjaya to the Pandavas and said, ask Sanjaya to tell the Pandavas that Pandavas don't do the war, okay? And Duryodhana is not going to give you anything. So stay in the forest. Just live in the forest only for your lifetime. This was his message. See how cruel. He still wanted to give whatever the Duryodhana wanted, whether that's a greed or lust or envy, whatever that is, he allowed Duryodhana to have that. And when Sanjaya went, and they did not heed him, and the Yudhishthira said, "No, sorry, we will go ahead with the war." Because it is, we have been tolerating for so long for all the envious activities that Duryodhana did to us. And as a result, we are here, and now that we don't want to live in the forest forever. And Maharani Kunti is still in palace with the request of Vidura. She is still living there. She didn't come with them, right? Because she is being old and she can't manage the forest life. Therefore, she stayed. Only Pandavas and Draupadi were in the forest during all the time. Whenever that they have to be exiled, even the house fire thing. After that, they had to be by themselves. And Kunti Maharani was in the palace, Hastinapur. So Sanjaya got the message, negative message from Yudhishthira. Of course, how long they will tolerate also. So when he came back, it was night time, and Dhritarashtra asked for the response, and then Sanjaya said he started giving the advice that whatever you have done, indirectly he was telling. See, this is another thing also. The leader or the counselor need to be really truthful, genuine, congruence. And he has to tell in a way that it's bold and loud and clear. He shouldn't be afraid of the position might be lost, or what the king would think or what the recipient would think. No, they have to be really strong and bold in giving the response or the counsel to the recipient, um, even though if it is bitterful, it doesn't matter. And yes, of course, they should have said it even before the incidents that had happened. But as I was saying, one part is destiny, one is the divine will of the Lord, but also that the way that went, the series of events that led into where they went up to, was all in line with the Shastras only, in the sense that they invited for a gambling match means Kshatriya has to accept the challenge. Like all were in line. Therefore, you can't say no. And we have to chastise Yudhishthira Maharaj in that case, not Duryodhana, because we know always Duryodhana being that character that cannot be changed. Like Daksha always being envious of Lord Shiva, that's not going to change at any moment of time unless he was punished. Correct. That is what happened with Duryodhana also. Until he was punished, he never learned his lesson. And we knew he was good with his parents. He had so much love for Dhritarashtra and Gandhari. He had so much love for his friends and the citizens. But he had this enviousness. That's all because of his insecurity of losing the power, the fame, the position. He doesn't want anyone to tell, oh, he is greater than Duryodhana. Mm. But see, if Duryodhana was really evil, he wouldn't have saved the army from other areas, correct? So many kings came to him because he was kind, he gifts them, he treats them properly to the as per the injunctions. He did all that. But then when it comes to Pandavas, that's when he becomes so envious. And Dhritarashtra, when he asked Sanjaya what happened, and Sanjaya says he gives advice, and advice in the sense he chastises Dhritarashtra that, when you do ill thing, you will never win. So he doesn't say you, but he would say one who does this and will never see the good fate and things like that. And that really poke his intelligence, and he kind of woke up and he became little unblind. But then at the same time, he was so afraid that why he's talking like this. What was the response? And Sanjaya said, I'm not going to give you until tomorrow morning. Now I need to leave. Please give me permission. I need to go sleep. And then Dhritarashtra couldn't say anything. So Sanjaya left. And then Dhritarashtra became very morose. And then whenever he is upset, he would ask for minister's advice. That minister is Vidura only. Because he is a devotee, he would give good advice. So then what happened in Mahabharata, Vidura Nidhi, that happened. That's 500 slokas given by Vidura to Dhritarashtra in the night. So Dhritarashtra asked so many wonderful questions to Vidura, and Vidura also answers. But we see that Dharma, Artha, Kama only where Vidura stopped. So he gives advice about who should we give service to, who should we give the friendship to, the association to, who should we avoid. So many instructions Vidura gave. And then when he also asked about the emancipation, the liberation, the freedom from the cycle of birth and death, that's when Vidura stopped. See, I gave you instruction on Dharma, Artha, but Kama, he didn't give the advice as if Kama was overpowering Dharma or Artha. He gave the Vidura Niti in a way that Dharma and Artha are more prominent. In fact, Dharma is more prominent than Artha, and Artha is more prominent than Kama. But also he said how the Kama needs to be utilized and regulated. So he was giving advice on all of those. And Dhritarashtra was feeling the peace from the charming words coming from the Vidura. And then he asked about that immortality. That's when Vidura stopped to say, I am a born Sudra and I am not capable of giving you that kind of advice. I need to stop here, but I can ask some Brahma Rishi or that great celibate Rishi like Sanat Kumara. And I can call him. And then Dhritarashtra says, no need. Why do you need to call? You have so higher degree of virtue, intelligence, and the Vedic knowledge. Why do you need to call someone else? I am happy with you. You just continue. Then Vidura being polite and humble, and he said, no, that is not correct. See, this is another learning that we need to take. We shouldn't be so, happy and thinking glorious that somebody asks us some advice, then we just give whatever we think that is. We should always give what is right as per Shastras or from the correct bona fide experience, which is in line with Shastras. But at the same time, we need to know where to stop giving advice also. One is one who is in mode of ignorance or passion, you cannot give them advice. At least one is in mode of passion, you can try, but in ignorance, no, you shouldn't even try. And the next thing is, you should not always eager to give advice, even though you are not capable or qualified. You should immediately direct that person, the recipient, to the next counselor who you think is more capable than yourself or who can give better advice to this recipient. That's where we need to hand over. And Vidura, that's what he did. He did a warm handover to Sanat Kumara. He was called Sanat Sujata. Sanat Sujata came. As soon as he thought about him, as soon as he thought of his name, he appeared because Vidura has so much power that when he thought about Sanat Sujata, his another name is Sanat Kumara, he appeared. And then immediately, without beating around the bush, Sanat and Sujata started to give advice to Dhritarashtra. That's about immortality. Now, we see that Sanat Sujata gave advice that's called Sanat Sujataya. That's called the chapter. It's called Sanat Sujata Gita or Sanat Sujataya. That's what we say. And there is another thing which is interesting thing was when Dhritarashtra asked the questions, the topics that were covered by Sanat Sujata in Sanat Sujatiya was knowledge of immortality. How, this Dhritarashtra was so much worried about losing his sons. He was seeking knowledge higher than moral laws and worldly wisdom. So that was already given to him, but he wanted more, the Brahma Vidya. So Atma Vidya was given, that Brahma Vidya needs to be given. So that was given by Sanat Sujata. And then he also spoke about how when the immortality is nothing but knowledge. The ignorance is death. That's what Sanat Sujata tells. And for the one who is in full of knowledge, especially the self-knowledge and the supreme knowledge of the supreme soul, then the death is not possible for them. Otherwise, what happens? The death is inevitable. And then he also talks about how one should realize the supreme soul, the primal being. And Lord is everything, and Lord is everywhere, and he is eternal, etc. And he also talks about, because he asked, Dhritarashtra asked, does good karma for a good action destroy the karma of the bad? And no, it is not true, because the karma, the actions, fruits of the actions would go with the person, and that they have to enjoy the results either in heaven or suffer in the hell. Correct? So that has to be exhausted. The actions, the fruits of the action needs to be exhausted. And all other thing is, when you perform good actions also, we shouldn't be attached to the fruits, and we need to offer to the Lord. That's the highest knowledge. Then he talks about that also. And then he talks about, he asked, Dhritarashtra asked how one can practice this in the world. And then he said that as austerity to attain the supreme, but those days the austerity is there, right? And you can attain the immortal. The supreme self is, when we understand the supreme self in knowledge, then the liberation is for certain. So therefore, we need to practice the spiritual path, and therefore we will attain the supreme self, he says. And when we ask, Dhritarashtra asks about immortality, that line connects with another story from Katha Upanishad. Nichiketa was a small boy. He lives with his father and mother in the middle of the jungle, and his father name is Vajrashva, and he has his mother also with him. And it was said that in those days, when you perform the charity, what happens if you give away charity, then you will attain bliss or some higher destination, something like that. So Vajrashva, being greedy, what he did was he gave away all the unwanted things, right? Like sick cows and wastelands and whatever he had, he was giving away that only. because Nachiketa was learning from the sages living in the Tapovana where they were also living in the tiny dwelling. So he was learning from sage Uddalaka. He was learning good things, right? Because of that, when he saw his father was not doing the right thing, he became little agitated. So he went and asked his father, "Who are you giving me to?" Because that was a sarcastic question. Because he knew the father is not doing the right thing. The father has to give away everything he owns for that fruit to fructify, whatever that is, you know. So that means he has to give away his wife's children and all the possessions. But what Vajreshwara did was, Vajrashava, sorry, what he did was, he gave away only the unwanted things. See, this is also the charity in mode of ignorance. So we see from Bhagavad Gita also the charity in 3 different modes, correct? That's why we need to know where we give what we give the charity to. We can't just give away charity to anybody who might abuse or exploit that um, the thing from us. And Nachiketa goes and asks, because as per the ceremony, the father has to give away his sons also, right? And Nachiketa will have to go to somewhere else. Then he became angry and said, "Well, I'm gonna give you to the Lord Yama." Then he was not afraid. He said, "Okay." He left the place and he meditated. And when he opened his eyes, he was at the doorstep of Lord Yama. And he was waiting for Yamaraj to come back from wherever he went. And it went like 3 days past. And Yamaraj hasn't come back. And after 3 days, he came back. And when he looked at, there is some guest sitting and waiting for Yamaraj's reception. Yamaraj became little felt little odd that, oh, I made a mistake. I didn't come on time to, serve the guest. Then he apologized and he said, well, 3 days you waited for me, so I'm happy to give you 3 boons. Then Nachiketa says the 3 boons, whatever the 2 boons he asks, like my father needs to learn his lesson, but still accept me when I go back and etc. And then that all granted. And then last thing he asked about secret of death, and that's when Yama restricted from giving any knowledge about the death because he thought Nachiketa was very small, young. What would he understand the Brahma Vidya or Atma Vidya? So he stopped. And then he was so determined. Nachiketa was so determined and pressing for the 3rd boon, and Yama had no choice. And but to teach this young Nachiketa, who is actually a sage, and he talks about how it's very fortune to take birth as a human, and then one has to cultivate good things and learn good things, and learn the knowledge of Atma Tattva and Paramatma Tattva and everything. And he talks about how one can achieve the higher destination also. So he became very thankful to the knowledge that was given by Yamaraj. And then because of his determination, we also see how Dhruva Maharaj at young age, same with Nachiketa also. He was also about, it is said, 5 years at one place, and some place it says 10 years. Regardless, he is very young boy. He was a very young, wise boy. And because he was spending time there with the sages around his hermit, instead of spending time with his father, he had the good association. That's why he learned good things, and therefore he know what to ask. Asking questions also to be in mode of goodness and with submissiveness and humbleness, and that's what he did. And therefore, he asked whatever that is taught by Yama, and then he came back, and then he was glorified in Upanishads as being a young sage. Okay, I stop here. Thank you very much. The lessons we learned today is about we should get advice from and who we should give advice to, and what mode of material nature the advice should be received at and should be given at, etc. And also what questions should be asked. Hmm? So the Daksha was never, at least Dhritarashtra asked questions to Vidura and Sanat Kumara, but Daksha didn't even did that. Even in assembly, when sages and other personalities, when they said, don't leave, he still left. He still left. He didn't accept. We see also this different pastimes where Indra was snatching the horses from what was that king's name? Prachini Barhis, Prachetas, and then that lineage only. That the king's name starts with P as well. I just forgot. Anyway, so not Vena, starts with P. Yeah, so when he was given the advice, Krishna came and said, stop the yajna. 100th Ashwamedha yajna, that's okay, because Indra is feeling insecurity. Why they didn't give the advice to Indra? They knew very well Indra is very stubborn. He's not going to listen. That's why they choose the right person there. And the same episode happened, same similar pastime happened in another episode also, that the advice was given to the right recipient, even though the other recipient who is at fault. So, but even in this case also, Lord Shiva was given advice by Brahma. So Brahma goes and says that please forgive him and give him the life back, please. They should have gone to Daksha and said you shouldn't have done this, you should have stopped it, and you need to suffer. Blah. No, they need Daksha as Prajapati to continue with his progeny, and because of all this chaotic nature situation, it needs to be resolved. Therefore, they went to the right person, that is Lord Shiva, and they told Brahma told, okay, you need to stop. You just forgive him. And yeah, because Daksha will not listen, correct? And also he's dead. So, and then Lord Shiva revives him with a goat head. All right, and I stop here. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. If any questions or corrections or comments, please.
Thank you, Isvari, for the class. That was so good. I really appreciated all the learning that you packed into that class. And mostly it made me take a moment to reflect on how much Srila Prabhupada put into gathering the knowledge that we need and giving it to us in such a way that it is so incredibly efficacious. And the way that you gave class today reminded me that we must be grateful that this clear direction has been gifted to us. And, at any turn, we could very easily have been influenced by someone with a misinterpretation. But we weren't. We were brought in front of Srila Prabhupada to take our path back home, back to Godhead, via this medium, this very correct and valid forum that Srila Prabhupada has, or the Gaudiya Math have kindly handed down to us. And that really hammered it home today, your class, for me. So thank you very much, Isvari. Nice class.
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you, Hare Krishna. Anything else? Okay, if no further questions, I stop here. Thank you very much. Vansha kalpadrupishya kripa sindhubhyev cha patitanam papanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai Isvari Laxmi Priya Marji ki jai.
Jai.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.